Hey, do any of you guys know who this character is? I don't recognize this. Is this Harley Quinn? Is this Harley Quinn from Batman? I'm a big Batman fan. It looks like Harley Quinn. I seem to have acquired some kind of object here. Can I show this on Twitch? She's not wearing that much. I'm gonna be honest. She's wearing very little. Am I gonna get in trouble for having this? It is Harley Quinn? Okay, I thought so. So I know literally nothing about any Riot or League of Legends lore. Can you guys tell me genuinely who this is? Like what character this is? I've got like a teddy bear. Who is this? It looks, I thought, I thought it was Bobo from The Simpsons. I thought this was Mr. Burns' long lost bear, you know? That's how out of touch I am. Let me find a cappy background for the intro, hold on. We're on brand now, that's the important thing. We've got to maintain brand integrity. Okay, 2XKO. The name that everyone seems to dislike. This game has been through some big changes over the last few months, and this weekend it's going to be the second alpha lab for the lucky residents of North America and I believe Brazil. It's also much shorter, yeah. And so Riot released a whole movie. They put out like a movie-length dev update video, which was useful, but for me, I don't know about you guys, but I thought that the big update video was like too information dense and hard to figure out how all that information fits together. So I struggled to absorb that much information without any hands-on experience. So, over the weekend, I went to France and took part in the 2XKO community tour. I was invited out to play the latest version of the game. I played the version that's going to be featured in the second Alpha Lab this weekend for a full day. I had a day to play it. And today I'm going to be sharing my overall impressions on that build. So while I did get a chance to record some footage of the new build, unfortunately the footage is still under embargo, so I can't release the footage just yet. However, what I can do, what I am allowed to do, is I can talk generally about this build. I can give you guys my impressions. I can talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and my overall thoughts on the direction that 2XKO is going, having now had a chance to actually play and test this new version of the game. With that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dev video here as kind of a jumping off point, and when they talk about something new that changed in this version, I'll explain generally like how it felt to use and what I thought of that change, whether it was good or bad, because spoiler warning, I like a lot of the changes, but there's also a few that I don't like. I have a kind of mixed to positive opinion of this build. I would say it's probably an improvement over the previous version, but not in every way. So with that out of the way, let's get started.
And this is pretty confusing. So what we did was we made it so that just down heavy is your launcher that
I liked this change, but it does have lots of implications. So what they've done is they've got rid of down forward heavy as a button. They've basically just removed down forward heavy from most characters, not all. A couple of characters' down forward heavies have been turned into command normals, but down heavy is now just your universal launcher. And I think it's a good change. It does have impacts on characters' combo routing. This is one thing I will say up front. As a warning to anyone who's planning on playing the next Alpha Lab or even like a later build of the game, you are going to have to relearn your combos. The combo structure has changed pretty significantly since the previous build, particularly if your character used down forward heavy as like a combo tool. So you're probably going to think, wow, they've killed the combos, nothing works anymore. They haven't killed the combos, you just need to learn new ones, basically, is what I want to get across here. If you grinded combos really hard in the first Alpha Lab, there's going to be quite a lot of changes, and this is one of them.
we actually kept that move on their kit with a different input. So
yeah, so Darius still has what used to be his down forward heavy, but it's been changed into a different input.
So they're now characters that have overheads, they're now on down forward and medium. And we're trying to consolidate.
Yeah, these are just quality of life changes, and they're basically just good. Like, I have nothing negative to say about this. Overheads are now down forward medium, sweeps are now down forward heavy. It's just, I think that's just an improvement. Generally, in a game with lots of movement and lots of dashing, you don't want to have, like, command normals on forward or back a lot of the time, because it can screw with your movement.
So now, you just press team, that does your old forward assist.
This is also really good. Like, I think all of the changes that I experienced to the inputs are just improvements. Like, I know some people are mad. We haven't got there yet. They've changed the input for supers. It used to be down, down. Now it's just any attack button plus special to do supers. That one's maybe a little bit controversial because I know people like to complain about input simplification, but for my money, all of the changes to inputs in this version are improvements, every single one. So the decision to make your forward assist neutral plus tag rather than forward plus tag from the last version just feels nicer. And what they've done is they've moved, what's it called? Tag launcher, the universal launcher that swaps characters. That's now down plus tag. And just overall, all of the input changes feel nicer to work with. It feels a lot better to control. Probably the biggest positive I had to say about this build.
In Alpha Lab 1, used to be able to hold forward plus team or hold back plus team to get a charge assist or a running assist.
This is a change that I think is healthy for the game, but I also think that from what I played, it probably needs a little bit of fine-tuning because there are some assists which feel like they were specifically designed around being able to hold them to kind of delay them. And from my gameplay experience, some of those assists now feel like they've kind of lost their function because you can no longer hold them. So I feel like there's still a little bit of room for polish on this feature, but overall it's good because calling your assist, delaying it, and then just tagging at the last second into like an air throw was degenerate. So this change is probably healthy for the game, but it does, I think, need a little bit of tightening up.
We heard a lot of feedback around down, down.
Yeah, I hate
struggle on some.
I hate down, down. I'm so glad they made this change. Down, down is an industry plant input as far as I'm concerned. At some point, a bunch of devs convinced themselves that down, down is like the simpler, logical successor to DPs. I think I hate them for doing that. It's a big conspiracy by the leveless Illuminati. Down, down is not a good input. I'm sorry. I'm glad they got rid of it. I don't know if you guys noticed, this is just a small thing that I noticed while I was playing.
For us,
they added these like cinematic backgrounds to supers. Like I don't think it used to have these like colored flashes in the background before. That's new.
Those reductions actually make combos a little bit shorter and made the game feel quite a bit faster.
Okay, so I guess this is the point where I'll talk about this. Yeah, combo length. My personal opinion in the last Alpha Lab was that combos, generally speaking, weren't too long. The only one that I had a problem with was Ari. Ari's stupid loop that went on for 45 minutes in the last build. That was the only one that I thought was too long, but that's just my opinion. So to give you guys a general idea, like again, I can't go into like everyone's new combo routes. I can't go into that much detail, but to give you guys a general idea in this new build, I would say combos are now about, on average, 75% the length they were in the previous build. So if you try and do your old combos from the last Alpha Lab, you'll probably get about 75% of the way through, and then notice that they suddenly start falling apart at that point, roughly. It's quite varied across characters, but that's sort of the general length you should be aware of. And I don't know how I feel about this. Like I said, I don't think I felt that combos were too long, personally, but I guess a lot of people thought they were, so I'll defer to the community on that one. But I didn't really have an issue with it, outside of Ari. I thought it was okay. And it's also worth mentioning that long combos do still exist. I'm talking about average combo length. So it is still possible to do some pretty long combos. But the average B&B is now noticeably shorter. Alright, I'm gonna actually skip this section because I didn't put too much time investigating the new fuses. That is not something that I did because what I wanted to do, my focus was like, I've only got a day to try this version, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play the same characters and the same fuse that I used before to give me a better idea of how everything's changed. Because, like, so for example, I didn't actually play Jinx. That might be disappointing if you wanted some Jinx information. I didn't actually play Jinx because I wanted to have, like, a comparison of, like, a before and after. And if I only played Jinx, then I wouldn't have, like, something to compare against. I played Echo and Braum, which is the same team that I played in the last Alpha Lab.
Combo, after you've already done a reaction with the ground bounce, you get extra damage. If you do another wall bounce, you get extra meter. So you see extra meter bonus pops up on the bottom left. And if you do like another tumble, if I was good enough, it does a hard knockdown.
Okay, so to explain this, because this whole segment's quite complicated and I didn't understand this the first time around, so I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of this from the video. So basically, hard knockdowns used to be very present in the previous version, and that meant that lots of characters had very obnoxious looping Oki. particularly Echo. Like we've all seen in the last Alpha Lab, Echo had like looping set play that was unreactable 50-50s and shit. In this version, they've buffed the hell out of defense. Like you have so much better defensive options in this version. And so they've almost completely removed hard knockdowns, barring this exception, which I'll explain in a second. So almost every hard knockdown from the previous version is gone. And also, if you get knocked down, you can now do a forward roll on wake up. And the forward roll has no recovery. Without going into too much detail, Echo can still set up stuff. He can do set play still. It's not completely dead, but it's way harder to do now. And that's okay. I don't mind that. But the part, I'm going to be honest, I didn't particularly like this stuff because it's not quite what I expected it to be. So there's this new mechanic that they've added to this build, which is basically if you end combos in certain ways, you either get rewarded with a hard knockdown or extra meter. And I thought when I saw the video, the first time around, when I saw this video, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. You've now got ways that you can customize how you end your combo, depending on if you want to prioritize like O-key or meter gain, stuff like that. I thought it was quite freeform, but it doesn't quite work this way. I feel like this system is kind of messy in my opinion, and some characters benefit from it more than others. So to get a hard knockdown, you have to first use either a ground bounce or a wall bounce in the combo. And then once you've done that, you then have to use a move that inflicts a wall slump, which is a different effect. And not every character has easy access to wall slumps. Like, it's not very intuitive. Also, the behavior mid-screen and in the corner is inconsistent. So if you, again, this doesn't make any sense, but just trust me. If you do it mid-screen and you get the hard knockdown, there's like this canned animation of your character running across the screen. But if you do it in the corner, you don't get this like follow-up animation, and instead you get time to set up O-key. So not only does this system vary depending on how you end the combo, but also where you are on the screen can completely shift it. I just felt it wasn't very intuitive. It didn't feel very elegant to me, but that's just my opinion. You lost me? I mean, I lost me. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but all I'll say is this new mechanic that they've added for how you end combos, I'm not super fond of. I don't think it's like damaging to the game, I just don't think it really adds a whole lot.
You have a bunch of options now, so you can hold forward and roll forward.
Yeah, so this is the new wake up option. You can just wake up roll unless it's a true hard knockdown, and most knockdowns are not hard knockdowns now. So you can just roll and wake up. And these rolls go surprisingly far. Like it's actually kind of difficult to get Oki now. They definitely don't want this to be like a looping Oki game. That's the main takeaway.
Cool, so let's talk about push block. You know, we got a lot of feedback in Alpha Lab 1 that push block was just not available enough. You know, it cost 1 bar, so the cost was pretty steep. And also, if you didn't have any meter, then you were just stuck and you couldn't push block at all. So now it no longer costs a bar of super meter. Now it's performed by pressing the team button while you're blocking. And if you are the assist, then the assist is the one responsible for the push block. Internally we call this push assist.
This, in my opinion, is the single best change from what I played. I loved this change. So the push block in the last build was extremely expensive. It cost 1 bar of super. And in exchange for that, you got a little bit of breathing room and that was it. And it felt like a complete waste of resources. They've completely retooled it. So now the push block is done by spending your assist, basically. And what's really cool about this, I really like this because previously spamming assists in this game was too strong, I think. So like, basically in the last build, if you weren't calling an assist at any given moment, you were basically just playing suboptimal because assists and handshake tags were so strong. Now there's actually a reason to hold off on spending your assist because you can now use it as a defensive resource as well as an offensive resource. So you can choose to either spend your assist to try and open up your opponent or get in neutral, or hold on to your assist and use it as a fat push block to get your opponent way away from you defensively. And you can even combine those two things. So you'll have like one player will be using their assist offensively, and the other player will use their assist defensively to offset their assist. So like this, I really like this change. I really think this was like one of those changes that's pretty elegant and solves a lot of the problems with the pressure in this game. And I just like that spamming assists now isn't quite so brain dead. So yeah, I love this change. This I think instantly upgraded the game for me. I think generally, just to give you guys my impressions on like the broad changes, because there's quite a lot of changes to defense. So you've got almost no hard knockdowns now. You've got rolling in both directions on wake up, both of which have no hittable recovery. They're just like back roll in Street Fighter, but there's also a forward roll. Push block is now tied to your tag rather than spending meter. I think one of my concerns is that they may have overbuffed defense a little bit. I think offense was too strong in the first Alpha Lab. I'm concerned that they might have overdone it a little bit with defense in this version. It's too early to say. I can't talk about the meta. I don't know how this will all pan out, but like I said, I really like the change to push block, but I feel like all of these defensive buffs combined might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. I'm just a little bit concerned about it. But there are some fighting games that I've played in the past where it's actually kind of frustrating that defense is so good that there's no reason to not just do your max damage combo in every situation because of how bad Oki is. I don't know if that's going to happen to this game. That's a possible concern. I don't know. We'll see.
Not just how easy it was to run away, but mainly just how long it took for that health to regenerate. We made a regenerate at a speed which just allows players to get back into the action faster and make a decision where it's like, hey, like this player's gonna come online pretty soon. Like let me get back out there.
Yeah, they buffed Grey Life regeneration speed as well. So one thing, this is another thing that I'm a little bit concerned by. Not a critique, but just a little bit concerned, is that while I was playing the new build, I was getting a lot of matches going to time over. A lot. And it wasn't just me, I was watching a few other people. There were a lot of matches that were ending with time over. Compared to like Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 6 exists at the other end of the spectrum. You almost never see a timeout in Street Fighter 6. That game is maybe too aggressive. But just to illustrate the point I was making a minute ago about defense potentially being too good now, there was so many timeouts. Even when we were doing like good combos, it wasn't just like timeouts were happening because we just didn't know how to finish combos. Even when like the better players were playing, there was still a lot of timeouts happening. So yeah, we'll see.
Finally, we felt like super jumps were too predictable and also received similar feedback in that vein. So as a result, we allow you to hold forward, back, or down to drift in these directions for a super jump.
Yeah, there's a little bit of aerial drift now, which I like because
this is my regular super
anything that makes movement more complicated, more complex is just a good thing.
Something amazing. Want to make sure that everyone in and out of the game knows it and the height matches and skill required to reach this moment. So now a successful physical parry. We put some presentation on it. So yeah.
It's even the same as perfect parry from Street Fighter 6, right down to the fact that it only does the big zoom in and the slow-mo if you do it on a strike. It won't do this if you parry a projectile. Like, can I borrow your homework, Street Fighter 6? I don't have strong feelings about this change. I kind of liked, to be completely honest, I actually kind of liked that parries were hard to use effectively before, because it felt incredibly rewarding when you actually managed to land one. They felt more like third strike parries before because you had to immediately start your punish the moment you buffered the parry, rather than having like a whole second and a half to admire the big cinematics like slowdown. Because now you don't really need to like confirm your parry, you just press it and wait and see what happens. You get like a whole second to react if it triggers the animation. Like you're never gonna miss that animation, right? Before you had to like really plan what you were gonna do after the parry like immediately, which I thought was kind of cool. So I get why they made this change, but I kind of like the old version as well. Those are kind of the general system mechanics. That's the main thing I wanted to focus on today, just my general overview. So yeah, there's some stuff I like here, and there's also some stuff I don't like, especially. I need more time with it. I guess I'll say that much. Like, this game is going to take a while to figure out, I think. And although I did get a day to play it, I still feel like there's a lot of questions I have about it. So yeah, the good stuff. I really like the changes to push block. I like all of the input changes, like the inputs that have been shifted around. Tag is now more intuitive. Not so keen on the changes to wake up roll. And The combo length changes I felt were not necessary, generally, for most characters. But overall, I had fun. It was a fun weekend. It was nice to, you know, be in a room playing a new game with a bunch of people and just chatting about our experience. The devs are very, like, receptive to feedback. If there's stuff you like, please tell us. But also, if there's stuff you don't like, please tell us, you know. And I think it's important to get the negative feedback as well as the positive. Because if we've learned anything from recent events, from a certain 3D fighting game, is that having an open dialogue about these things with the developers is very important. I'm sure some of you know where this is going, but in light of recent events in an entirely different fighting game, I have a newfound appreciation for devs that are willing to have difficult discussions about the things that are fun, as well as the things that are not so fun. That's nice to have. Anyway, those are my impressions of the new version of 2XKO. Like I said, the Alpha Lab comes out this weekend. I'm sure there'll be tons of people finding new cool stuff, new combos, etc., new tech. But until then, I will see you guys all in the next video.